So welcome everybody. We're going to do chapter 3 in the Shulchan Aruch, and is the Hanhaga of the man. This is the behavior of people in the morning, and some of it's going to sound very strange. So we'll only spend a little bit of time. Maybe I'm open to discussion and questions. We won't spend that much time reading. The very first law that's brought down is not applicable today at all. But in your mind's eye, you should understand what the Shulchan Aruch is trying to tell us, and that is that when one enters a bathroom, meaning a toilet, WC, to relieve himself, not to do the laundry. Sometimes the laundry room, right, is shared with the bathroom. Maybe you're giving your kids a bath. No, we're talking about you're going into the bathroom in order to relieve yourself. You should say to the angels that are accompanying you, please wait for me outside. And the Shulchan Aruch clearly says that nowadays this is not our custom, and we'll have to see why. The truth is that I do sense angels around me, but not all the time, and not consistently, and not even on a regular basis. But I'm cognizant of the fact that when we learn Gemara, the letters Gimel, Mem, Reish, Aleph actually stand for Gabriel, Michael, Raphael, and Uriel, the four angels that are surrounding you when you're learning Scripture, Torah, the oral Torah specifically. We come home Friday night and we sing Shalom Aleichem to the angels that escort us home from shul. But the truth is, they're really around us all the time. But we're not cognizant of that fact, as the Mishnah Berurah brings down. V'akshav ki ein anu muchzakin lirei shamayim shemalachim malavim otanu. We're not on the level. We don't have the proper awe of God to really recognize the fact and be muchzak. Muchzak. How would you translate muchzak? Strengthened in this concept and knowledge and awareness that the angels are constantly escorting us around, that we would shenivakshem shamtinu aleinu ad shenetze, that we would request for them to wait for us when we leave the bed. Wait here until I finish. But when you hear this idea, you kind of like get, I don't know, goosebumps or creeps or whatever it is, just that you're not alone. There are forces in this world that are in our presence constantly. Okay, so you don't have to knock on the door and you have to knock on the door yet. Anytime you go through any door, you should always knock on the door. In case there's somebody in there and you don't want to surprise them and startle them, and God forbid, give them some kind of a heart attack. So even when you go to the bathroom and you know it's empty, it's a good point to knock on the door anyway. Especially, I actually walked in once on somebody. I forgot to knock. I was in a rush. Sometimes you have those moments. So maybe that's also a good idea to stop and think before you walk in the bathroom. Maybe you don't have to tell the angels that wait for me outside, but at least knock on the door, so that in case there is somebody in there, they are either warned or they'll let you know they're in there, which we're going to discuss how they're going to let you know, especially when you're not supposed to talk while you're in the bathroom relieving yourself. Okay, so we did the first halacha. Let me just see what it says in English. When one enters the bathroom, you say out of respect for the honored ones, but this time it's not customary to say. Fine. So you're basically asking the honored ones to wait for you until you are finished. Next, 2. Yehei tzanua b'beit hakisei. One should be modest in the bathroom. Lo yigala atzmo ad sheyeshev. Okay, this is a little bit, I guess it's easier for women if they're wearing skirts, right? But it's difficult for men. And he discusses how much in the front, how much in the back one should reveal themselves in order really not to, there's like a balancing act here. You don't want to get dirty, right? You want to walk out of the bathroom like a human being and not like a schmutzy, dirty person, right? So there's a balancing act between being modest, how much to reveal, and how much not to reveal. You don't want to get yourself dirty, so there has to be a maximum amount of, minimum amount of revealing yourself, so your garments don't get soiled. Men and women are different. Okay? Guys in America, men and women are different. Okay. So he says, "Lo yilchu shnei anashim biyachad." Two men should not go to the same stall, should not be in the bathroom together. Obviously, many public bathrooms, large rooms, they have different stalls. So obviously you can be in the same room, but not in the same stall together. It's going to be a different halacha about women. Gam lo yidaber sham. Also, you should not speak there. It really, again, if you're doing your laundry, you're giving your kids the bath, it's not a problem. It's while relieving yourself. And it says, "V'yizgor hadelit ba'ado mishum tzniut." And once you close the door, on account of modesty. This all sounds very practical, right? And like a no-brainer. So when he said, the Mishnah bring down when it says you shouldn't really reveal yourself until you're actually sitting. Also, when you're finished, you also should pull your pants up. Again, we're talking about men. Women are wearing skirts. Until you shouldn't stand up while you're revealed. You should try to, as you're getting up, or however comfortable it is. But it's the principle. Obviously, everybody's body is made differently. Some people cannot do this. But the concept here is just to be as modest as possible, even in a room. Obviously, when you go to a shower or you go to a spa where it's, the same-sex spa, and it's all, hot tubs and whatnot. And I don't know, let's just, what do you call those places? The locker room. Okay, so these rooms are made specifically to be naked, so it's not really a problem. It's like, but when you're by yourself, when anything you're able to do, you should still do to remain modest. And the whole idea of not having two people, even if you're afraid, right? You shouldn't go two people, even if you're afraid. But he mentions that, let's say, this sounds really strange. If there's a window from the outside and the person is afraid, so you can put your hand on his head through the window. Remember, let's say they're all principles here. They're not exactly, it's not every situation is going to fit this. But the whole idea is that the other person shouldn't see his nakedness. So also, even with your own wife, even with your own spouse, however, if you're with a child who obviously needs help, it's not a problem at all. The idea of not speaking is, if you have like a great need, it might be, let's say toilet paper. Excuse me, anybody out there? Help! Pass the toilet paper. So let's say there's a great need. You can think of whatever you want. So then it's okay to talk the whole time. You're not actually relieving yourself. But at the moment you are relieving yourself, even for a great need, it would be forbidden. And if it's impossible to close the door, and you have another person, and someone else wants to enter, let's say, God forbid, I don't know, you've been in a situation, there's no door, there's no lock.
Outhouses. What do you think outhouses were?
Outhouses? They might have had doors, they might have had locks.
No.
They might have, some of them did.
I'm talking about separation.
So what does it say? It says, Yinecharu zeh lezeh lo yidabru. That you should grunt or make some kind of noise. You're not having a conversation. The whole point is, the bathroom is not a congregation place to have conversations, right? You can do that maybe in the spa, in the bathhouse, but not when you are relieving yourself. I want to tell you, my Rosh Hashiva, Rav Noach Weinberg, taught us that, I think I mentioned this before, we're the only animals that carry this sack of feces around with us and have to wait to go to a certain place. We don't just go wherever we want. And it's to remind us to do tshuva. To do tshuva. And we're not supposed to think. When I was in my Christian days, most of my best prayers were in the bathroom, believe it or not. I think a lot of people probably can relate. But in Judaism, we don't have any holy thoughts. We don't read Torah. We don't read Scripture. We don't pray to our Creator in the bathroom. But the Rosh Hashiva said we should think of tshuva, how lowly we are. We're just basar v'dam. We came from a tipa srucha. We came from just a drop, and we developed, which is quite miraculous. But we're nothing, and we're carrying around our baggage with us until we're able to relieve ourselves. To think of tshuva, the general concept. Have you heard such a thing? Isn't it beautiful? Okay. So as he says, if someone else wants to come in, a door or a lock, you grunt. But it says by women are different. Okay. Now why can women go together in a public place? Let's say it's a public bathroom. Because, well, I don't really have to specify too much what could happen, but women are generally afraid of a man walking in. Maybe a man less so, I don't know. But, so if women are in a public bathroom, they're allowed to go together, right? If they're afraid that someone else might walk in or, God forbid, try to take advantage. And if they're like out in the field, same thing, that another woman can be there to assist her. I'm not saying hold her hand, but whatever, accompany her. And they're even allowed to talk, especially in the public bathroom, because that would definitely give rise to anybody who wants to come in, that there are people, that's more than one person, and they whatever, I'm not even going to think about what they're thinking, but it's a great preventative medicine, let's say, for anybody who might want to take advantage. Okay? Okay, now number 3 is, I'm not going to go into too much detail because we didn't have toilet paper back then. And not only that, they didn't have, what's the word? Those, like what prunes do to you. What is that called?
Laxatives.
Laxatives. So let's say it wasn't, you had constipation and you needed some kind of a suppository or a laxative to help you relieve yourself. So it gives some advice. Okay, so we're going to go to number 4. Okay. Now, number 4 is talking about how much to reveal yourself in the front and in the back. The main goal is a balancing act between being modest and not soiling your clothes. So everyone's going to be different. How you can crouch down, how you can, not everyone's knees work the same at certain ages. So, but the principle is going to be the same, but the advice here is that you shouldn't reveal yourself except in the back by a tefach, which is 1 hand breadth, but 2 in the front. So obviously when you're wearing pants, it obviously is going to work like that. Well, it may be not a tefach, but it's going to be less in the back and more in the front. But by a woman, it's enough 1 tefach in each direction. So what's the idea? First of all, if a man, this is just, for all the men listening, let's say you go to the bathroom and you want to do what we call number 2, it's called gedolim, but you had no intention to do a number 1, which is urinating. A lot of times when you sit down, all of a sudden the feeling comes and you feel you have to urinate. So again, the goal is to keep your clothes clean and remain modest at the same time. So let's do number 5. So let's say you're out in the woods, or you're in a place where you don't have walls. In other words, you say an outhouse, but an outhouse has walls usually. So we're saying outside the outhouse, right? You're in a place where there are no, well, obviously if there's a tree, that's good. So you go next to the tree. But there's an idea here about which direction to be in. Now this is going to get a little complicated because there are different ways to understand it and read it. But it kind of matches up with number 6. But the idea is that when you're in Jerusalem and you're close to the base of Mikdash, it's absolutely forbidden to urinate, for a man to urinate, in the direction of the temple. Because you can see it from everywhere in Yerushalayim. And if you're urinating in the direction of the temple, it's What can I tell you? It's like spitting, you know? It looks like a disgraceful act. So here it talks about directions, east and west. You shouldn't make a number 2, called Gedolim, in facing either way, east or west, because even though we say the Shechina is in where? The west, but it's the same as the east. So in other words, it's the same line, you know? So the idea is to not be facing that direction no matter where you are in the world, east or west. But that's if you have a proper bathroom, we call mechitzot, proper walls, so then it doesn't really apply according to most people. And the other, in number 6, where it talks about sleeping with your wife, which there's a whole chapter about those laws, which maybe it's a simple get to. But it's brought here because of the idea of not having your bed east or west. So the idea is like this. The Ramban wrote a book called Educator, which has to do with the laws of sexual relations between man and his wife. And he discusses this idea of east and west as opposed to north and south. North and south, if you have your bed north and south, I'm talking about with your wife, what happens is that he's talking about a perfect balancing act. Not to be too cold with your wife and not to be too hot with your wife. Meaning you have to talk to her with a lot of sensitivity. And again, this is dealing with, in Reish Mem, this is dealing with laws of sexual relations, but we're talking about relations in general, especially before consummating the act, that a man has to be extremely kind and sensitive to his wife and not to be extreme, either too cold or too hot. Now, because, you know, that's what that north-south represents. But there's he also explains about things that we eat before having relations, because you don't want to upset the stomach, which will then affect your body and your metabolism and everything else that you need to be involved with. Okay, so we'll continue this next week. I just wanted to give you a brief introduction for chapter 3. Okay, any questions at this point? Fascinating. If you want to open the Chumash to
Rabbi Aaron.
Yes, Mayor.
Rabbi Aaron. So you don't do Mechubadim?
The Shulchan Aruch says we're not accustomed to do it this way because most people are not on the level. They don't have the awe and awareness of the angels. Meaning we have descended. We're not as spiritual as we used to be. But I would say that anybody that does it that actually feels it probably could do it, but I wouldn't tell anybody because it may appear to be haughty. Cathys laughing. Meaning, I think when you go to the bathroom, it's probably appropriate to think about it, you know, but to say it is a little bit haughty. Because who are you? Look at what the Shulchan Aruch says. We're not on that level today. We've descended. You know, we're not aware of the angels. We don't have a proper awe to be consciously aware of that. So it's true. Let's say it's true, but you happen to know they're still there, even though you're not aware of them. So you want to give them honor by asking them to wait for you. So it certainly will appear haughty. What do you think, Tzaddik? I'm right? He likes my answer.
Shama shir shir chadash